Hey everyone, so Anthony here from Nisus Fitness. I just said I'd record a quick presentation on a common question that we get asked within the club, and it's, especially from our female clients, it's will I get bulky or will I put on too much muscle mass if I lift weights? So hopefully in the next few slides I'll answer that question for you. So I suppose first of all it's key to just understand the difference between body fat and muscle mass. And just understand that they're two completely different components. So when people say that if I put on lots of muscle and stop lifting weights, all my muscle will turn to fat. That doesn't happen. Muscle can't turn to fat, and fat can't turn to muscle. Now you can increase one and decrease the other, but they don't interchange between each other. And the first picture there, was popular maybe a couple of years ago, but it just highlights the difference between the two in terms of what they look like and what they're made of. But you can see here in this picture that both of these are 5 pounds in weight, but clearly the 5 pounds of body fat takes up a lot more space than the 5 pounds of muscle mass. So if you want to fit into smaller size clothes, this picture kind of makes it obvious that you need to have more muscle mass than body fat. Now the second picture shows two ladies who are the same height, they're the same weight, they have the same BMI, but the girl in the red dress has been lifting weights for a while, and she has a lot more muscle mass than the girl in the green dress. And you can see, even though all their stats are the same on the scales, to look at them straight on, they look very different. And it's just because the girl in the green dress is carrying a lot more body fat, and basically she's taking up more space. The girl in the red dress, even though she weighs the same, because she has a lot of muscle, she's taking up a lot less space. So outside of looking better, some other advantages of gaining a little bit more muscle mass include that you burn more calories throughout the day. So muscle mass is a lot more active than fat mass. So as a result, come the end of the day, your body will have burned more calories if you have more muscle mass. So sometimes you can actually eat a bit more if you have more muscle, and that's always good news. A second advantage would be that your performance should improve. So that could be in your exercise class, where you might be able to lift heavier weights, move a bit quicker, move a bit better, and it shouldn't take as much out of you. But also in everyday life, household chores, playing with the kids, these should all come a bit easier to you, and you won't be wiped out at the end of the day. You'll actually feel like you had more energy throughout the day. And the final, I suppose the most important advantage, is that it reduces your risk of disease and injury, as you get older. So diseases such as heart disease, diabetes, different types of cancers, high blood pressure. If you have more muscle mass and less body fat, you're at less risk of these diseases. And also injury, the stronger you are, the less likely you are to injure your muscles, your bones, or your ligaments or joints. So they're just some of the other advantages of having more muscle mass outside of looking better. So hopefully now I've convinced you of the benefits of lifting weights and adding a little bit more muscle mass to your frame. But back to the question we started with, will I get too bulky if I lift weights? The answer to that is no, unless you do something that's out of the ordinary with it. So that could include having a very high calorie diet in combination with your weight training. Now, this is a very unlikely scenario because most, especially female clients who start out with us or who are training with us, they're actually watching their diet, or they're restricting their calories. So it's highly unlikely that they'll ever eat enough calories to gain such a high level of muscle mass that you can actually physically see it. The second thing you'd probably require is an extreme training routine. So that would be, lifting weights 7 days a week, lifting weights in the morning and in the evening on multiple days. And again, like just from our own experience here, it just doesn't happen. People don't have the time, they don't have the motivation to do that type of training. So again, it's an unlikely scenario. And the last thing then is performance enhancing drugs. So I suppose women don't have the same level of muscle building hormones that men have. So very often, if you see a woman, who has a very high level of muscle mass that looks extremely unusual, um, they probably have a high calorie diet, they have an extreme training routine, but they're also probably taking performance enhancing drugs. So again, the three of those are you're very unlikely to do those. So getting bulky is something that you shouldn't be worried about. What should happen when you lift weights is that your muscle mass should increase slightly and your body fat should decrease slightly. This is a slow process. It's very hard to build muscle and it's also very hard to lose body fat. So you got to be consistent with your weight training week after week, month after month, and the same goes with nutrition. In terms of body fat, if it came down 1 or 2% per month, you'd be delighted with that. So you got to think long term, where will I be this time next year? But if you look at the two girls here that are highlighted, the girl at 35% body fat, that's probably the average for a girl that comes in to us who's starting out on her journey. Our first goal there would be to bring her under 30%. She'd be considered in the healthy range when she has achieved this. And then maybe the end goal might be to get down to 25%, where most women are happy with their body shape when they get to that percentage. Anything lower than that, it's probably not worth it. You probably have to give up too much stuff and do too much training. But the girl at 35% is carrying a lot more body fat than the girl at 25%. The girl at 25% has lost body fat and she's gained a little bit of muscle mass. And as a result, if you were to look at her head on, she looks slimmer. She looks a bit more toned and she's a lot healthier. So that's what should happen when you lift weights for a consistent period of time. So I suppose to sum up, I would say don't be afraid of lifting heavier weights, of getting stronger, of adding a little bit more muscle mass. It can only benefit you. You'll fit into smaller clothes. Your performance will improve, not only in your exercise class where you'll be stronger, faster, but also in everyday life where, the stuff that you do all the time, it won't take as much out of you. And probably most important then is you're at a reduced risk of injury, so you can train week after week, month after month, year after year, so you can have a bit of consistency, and as a result your long-term health should be better because your body composition should be better. And finally, I suppose, don't be afraid of putting on too much muscle mass and looking bulky. It's a myth that just won't go away, especially for the female population. Again, you'll never do enough, or it's highly unlikely that you'll ever do enough to achieve that look. So you'll never eat enough calories, or you won't do the training that's required to achieve that look. So guys, that's the end of the presentation. Any questions, you can email me at anthony@nisusfitness.com, and thank you for listening.